Hello everyone, a very good evening and welcome to StudyIQ IAS English. I hope that everybody is doing great and today I'm once again back in front of you just with the next part of our lecture series in art and culture. Today we will be covering up the temple architecture. However, let me tell you before starting this lecture, we can understand that basically we have covered the architectural procedures, we have covered the artistic developments in the history of India till the beginning of the Gupta period. However, before the beginning of Gupta period, the time of transition was there, which actually led to the emergence of diversified architectural practices, initiating with the cave architecture, then moving further to the monolithic architecture, and then followed by the structural temple architecture. So this is going to be a multiple part session, multiple part series. In the temple architecture, the first part we are going to cover today, and in subsequent lectures we will be covering up the upcoming parts. So let's get started, but before proceeding, let me tell you that StudyIQ IAS has brought a new batch in the Prelims to Interview program for 2024 Civil Services Examination. Here you can enroll in your favorite course, basically in English and Hindi, whichever medium you prefer, because this program of Prelims to Interview that provides each and everything which is essential for any aspirant to clear the examination. So do not forget to use this code ASR Live while registering into this program, and this will provide you the maximum benefit and the least course fees will be charged to you. So let's get started in the next part. Now, early temples. So dear students, when we talk about the early temples, basically what is a temple, we should understand that first. In a temple, basically there are two major perspectives. When we talk about any other religion, like basically Christianity or Islam or Judaism, in these religions, the place of worship is considered as more significant. Whereas in case of Hinduism or Jainism or Buddhism, the temple is not just the place of worship, but it also contains the image of the god or the deity. Therefore, it is regarded as the abode of the deity as well. What is the meaning of the abode of the deity? When we talk about the abode of the deity, basically it means the dwelling where the deity lives. This is the house of the deity, isn't it? And when we talk about the temples, initial most temples in India, they were related to the Buddhism. Because they were primarily constructed by cutting the rocks and excavating the caves inside the rocks and then making the sculpture of the deities on the wall or the surface of the rocks. This is how the structures were made. However, just before the beginning of Gupta period, even the Brahmanical deities also started to appear in the temple structures. For example, let me just tell you that the stories which were mentioned in the Puranas, like the Varaha avatar that became a very popular subject of the sculpture and temple construction. Even in the southern India, we find the cave temples, for example, the Vatapi or the Badami caves. In central India, we have the caves like Vidisha, right? The Vidisha's Udayagiri caves. These caves, they provide the evidences of the Varaha sculpture in the particular period. So when we talk about the beginning of these traditions, we have to understand that the shrines of the temples, they were usually of three types, called as a Sandhara, called as a Nirandhara, and called as the Sarvatobhadra. So guys, when we talk about the cave temples, they don't need any structural foundation. They don't need any groundwork. It is only essential when we construct the structural temples. For example, look at this particular picture. This is the temple of Lord Shiva. Okay, Lord Shiva, from a place called as Nachna Kuthar. In this particular temple, you can see that there is a plinth, and then there is a space of movement, and then there are the entries as well as the windows outside, and then there is a flat roof. This is a flat roof. Okay, everyone? Flat roof. So here, when I am talking about the different types of temples, let me tell you that these temples, on the basis of the availability of the spaces beside the wall, these can be classified into the three different types: Sandhara, Nirandhara and Sarvatobhadra. What is the meaning? These terminologies are very important. UPSC directly asks the terminology based questions from the art and culture portion. So listen very carefully and try to remember these terms for your exam as well. For example, without any pradakshina path, that means we have a temple, we don't have any place, any space to do the circumambulation of the deity, then we will call this as without pradakshina path, right? Without pradakshina path or sandhara. If you are confused here, sandhara means the temple is constructed over the complete base of this, There is no extra space. What is Nirandhara? Nirandhara is basically when there is a space and on the space the temple is constructed. So this space is basically used for circumambulation, Okay. And when we talk about Sarvatobhadra, Sarvatobhadra means when the temple is open on all the sides. That is called as Sarvatobhadra. Alright. So earliest temples we have in India, some of the earliest temples, for example, temple number 17 in Sanchi. Okay. When we are talking about the earliest temples, we have temple number 17 at Sanchi. We have Nachna Kuthar temple, which is shown here in the picture, Nachna Kuthar. We have Lakshman temple, okay, Lakshman temple at Sirpur. We also have the temples of Tigawa, Tigawa Vishnu temple, okay, Tigawa Vishnu temple at Tigawa in nearby Jabalpur. And not only that, we also have the several temples, like we have such temples which are amongst the oldest. For example, we have the temple at Tejpur, Assam. Okay. Or there are temples in Deccan as well. In Deccan, we have the temples like Aihole Durga temple, Aihole Durga temple, or the temples called as the Lad Khan temple. Okay, Lad Khan temple. So all these are some examples of the ancient most temples we have in India. But the history of temples started not directly with this type of structural temples, but it started with the temples which were constructed by cutting and carving the caves on the huge rocks. So therefore we have three different type of temple traditions. Cave temples, they are the oldest type of temples, okay, mainly Buddhism, mainly they are related to the Buddhism, but also they have the features related to the Jainism and Brahmanism. Jainism and Brahmanism. Okay. Guys, those who don't understand Brahmanism, understand it as because the Hinduism which we call it as today, this is the old name of Hinduism, that is Brahmanism. When the term Hinduism was not popular, Brahmanism term was more popular among the historians. Then monolithic temples, they are the next oldest. Here you can see the examples as well. The cave temples, for example, we have the Kailash temple at Ellora, Just a second. Because Kailash temple, let me tell you, Kailash temple is related to monolithic temples. So here we have the Kailash temple at Ellora, or we have the Mahabalipuram Rathas, Ratha temples. These are the example of the monolithic structural temples. That means they are carved out of a single stone. That is why they are called as monolithic stone, monolithic structures. Single stone, single rock is used to construct this temple. Cave temples, for example, we have the Ajanta cave temples, or Ajanta, or Ellora, Badami, Elephanta. We have the examples like Junnar, Bhaja, Karle, then Pandavleni or Pandavleni. So many examples of the cave temples in India, they are present. In the eastern India also, we have the cave temple traditions, particularly in Odisha. Like you might have heard the names of the Udayagiri, Khandagiri cave temples. So even they are also the similar cave temples, Udayagiri, Khandagiri. These cave temples are related to the Jainism in Odisha. Jain cave temples in Odisha. And guys, let me tell you that the cave temples are not only present in the Western Ghats or the Eastern Ghats, but they are also found in the regions like Gwalior, Gujarat, even in the regions like Central India, like in Udayagiri. So we can say that there are various types of the cave temples, various types of the monolithic temples. But when we talk about the structural temples or freestanding temples, these are the typical temple structures or typical temples related to the Hinduism, related to the Jainism, Buddhism, etc. Okay, everybody. So when we are talking about these structural temples, we have the categorization of these temples. Let me tell you, these temples can be categorized into the various groups. So when we talk about the categories on the basis of architecture, then we have the Nagar style, Nagar style of temple architecture. We have the Dravidian style of temple architecture or Dravida style of temple architecture. And we have the Vesar, Vesar style of temple architecture. Okay, everybody. Then these temple architectures are further categorized. They are further categorized into the various groups. Further categorized into the various groups. For example, Nagar is categorized into the Chandel, right, oblique Khajuraho style. Then we have we have the Solanki, right, the Solanki or Maru Gurjar style, Then we have the third one, that is the Odisha or Kaling style. So guys, Chandel or Khajuraho, this is present in the, this style is usually found in the central India, in the Bundelkhand region. Then Solanki or Maru Gurjar style is usually present in the Gujarat, Rajasthan area. Odisha and Kalinga, Odisha or Kaling style, that is present in the Odisha or basically southeastern coastal regions, right? Particularly in the Odisha, Andhra, or even in the Bengal as well. Now, when we talk about the categories of the Dravid style, we have several subcategories. For example, we can say the categories like the Chalukyas, right? In fact, prior to Chalukyas, let me tell you, Pallavas, okay. We have the Pallava styles, we have the Chola styles, then we have the Vijayanagar style, okay, Vijayanagar, we have the Rashtrakuta style, okay, and we have the Nayaka style. So these are the different divisions, different variations in the Dravidian style. And when we talk about the Vesar style of temple architecture, we have the variations such as Chalukyas, such as Yadavas, Hoysalas, okay, Hoysalas, and Kakatiyas, okay. So these are the different variations in the style of Vesar temple architecture. Now, when we have understood the variations of all these styles, all these types, so let us now proceed to understand the oldest among all of these, that is the cave temple architecture. I hope that it is absolutely well understood by everybody who is watching this. There are the variations which we have already studied. Now let us understand about the cave temples. You can see the example of the cave temple. This is the Badami cave temple, right, present at Vatapi or Badami near Ahol in Karnataka. Okay. You can see the huge mountain, huge rock, and excavation of the temple within the rock. Then this is the example of the monolithic temple. You can see the monolithic temple. Here the entire piece of the rock is excavated, and this huge Kailasha temple at Ellora, it is constructed by cutting the entire rock itself. Then you can see this is the example of a structural temple. Here piece by piece, brick by brick, every segment is attached together, right? It is simply constructed in such a huge monument. Okay. Now moving further and let us understand the cave temples in detail. So in the cave temples, first of all, there are primarily three architectural types which were executed. Which are those three architectural types? The first one is the apsidal vault roof Chatya. What is the example of the apsidal vault roof Chatya? This is the example of the apsidal vault roof Chatya. The roof is vaulted, inverted U shape, okay. And then we have the apsidal, right, wall roof pillarless halls, apsidal wall roof pillarless halls. Suppose if we don't have the pillars on the side, only we have the wall, only wall is there, no pillar is there, then this will be called as the upsidal vault roof pillarless hall. And then we have the flat roofed quadrangular hall with a circular, right, with a circular chamber. Okay. So in the flat roof, you will not see the upsidal roof, but you will see the flat roof. Okay. Usually when we talk about the cave temples, guys, remember that the cave temples in Buddhism, they are known as Chatyas. They are called as Chathyas. Okay. So basically, what are the Chatyas? Chatyas are the Buddhist, right, Buddhist shrines or Buddhist cave temples. Okay, Buddhist cave temples. So we have the various examples as well. And in fact, when we talk about the cave temples or the Chatyas, okay everyone, remember that these Chatyas are basically dominated by the motif of the semicircular Chatyas, right, which is having the open front, and at the back of the hall we have a stupa. You just see this picture once again, you will realize what I am trying to tell you. This is basically located at the end of the rectangular hall. You can very well understand that this is a rectangular hall. This is a rectangular hall, and at the end of the side you have this stupa located. And when I am trying to tell you this picture, it's right, it looks something like that. It looks something like that. So this is the entry of the stupa, right? Sorry, entry of the Chatya, and on the entry you have the turn, and these are the sequences of the pillars. These are the sequences of the pillars present here, right, present here on both the side of the Chatya. And at the end we have the semicircular ending. We have the semicircular ending. Okay, this ending is semicircular, and just near the end we have the stupa. We have the stupa. So this is the top view of the Chatya architecture, and this is the real picture of the Chatya. This is the stupa about which I am talking, and look at this is also the location of stupa. Okay. So this is how the Chatya, the typical Chatya, this is how it looks. And when we talk about the another type of cave temples, apart from Chatyas, we have the viharas also. Okay, apart from Chatyas, we have viharas. So the cave temples in Buddhism, there are two types of cave temples, Chatyas and viharas. What is the Chatya? Chatya is basically a place of worship for the Buddhist shrine. UPSC has asked the question on this topic. What is vihar? Vihar is basically when we start having some modifications, okay, in the standard plan of the vaulted roof, then we come across the structure with the rectangular halls, So what will happen? At the one part of the cave, we have the upsidal vaulted roof with the presence of the stupa on the terminal end of that particular hall. But on the other side, we have the rectangular hall-like structure, right? Rectangular hall-like structure or a balcony along with the hall, and this is basically called as a vihar. So suppose if we look at this picture, this plan, in this plan we have the entry, here we have the entry, okay, and then on the one side we have the rectangular hall which is semicircular, okay, and in this semicircular hall we have the stupa, and then we have the pillars etc. on the side of the walls, okay, we have the pillars, all right. And here when we talk about the other section, we have the entry from this side, And here we have a balcony. We have a balcony with the pillars, and apart from the balcony with the pillars, we have the various cells. These are the rooms. So basically, when we start making the residential rest houses along with the Chatya, then we call it as a vihar. Did you get the meaning? Exactly what is a Chatya? What is a vihar? Chatya is basically the temple or the shrine. What is a vihar? It is meant for the purpose of residence, purpose of rest, and that is called as a vihar. Chatya has upsidal roof or the flat roof. Chatya has entry which is perpendicular. Viharas have the straighter entries, and they have the balcony with the pillars, as well as they are having the cells, cell 1, okay, cell 1, cell 2, cell 3, cell 4, cell 5. Cells basically means the rooms for the rest. Okay. So we have several examples of the viharas, like Ajanta cave number 12 is a vihar. Then Bedsa, the cave number at Bedsa, we have the cave number 11, Nashik cave number 3, Nashik cave number 10, cave number 17. All these are the examples of the viharas, right? If you want to have a look at the viharas, so this is a particular Chatya. This is how the Chatya looks like. The entry is there, upsidal vaulted roof is there, and if we talk about vihara, this is what like a vihara looks like. Okay, this is what a vihara looks like. You can see here the flattish roof, you can see the pillars, you can see the balcony, right? The chamber, the rooms inside the balcony. So this is the entry, this is the balcony or veranda, and this is the entry gate of the entire cell, right? Now, in the later periods, we also saw the changes in the cave architecture. For example, you just saw the picture of cave number 3 of Nasik. Okay, this is the picture of cave number 3 of Nasik, this picture. You can clearly see the facade of a cave which is heavily carved and heavily sculpted. There are huge carvings. In fact, great intricate carvings are present, which provide the details of life stories related to Buddha or several other Jataka tales. Okay, and some of them, they simply represent the Buddhist images or certain images of the animals and human beings. Okay, in fact, when we talk about other vihara caves, we have example at Junnar. The Junnar vihara is popularly called as Ganesh Leni. Why is it called Ganesh Leni? It is called Ganesh Leni because at Junnar we have the image of Lord Ganesha sculpted later on. It's sculpted later. Initially it was not there, but when we see the image, we come to an idea, we come to a conclusion that it was excavated later. All right. Then stupa was added to the back of the hall of the viharas, and it became a Chaitya vihara. Now we saw Chaitya, we saw vihar. Now there is a term called Chaitya vihar. So when we have when we have an additional stupa placed at the end of the vihara, then we call such a building, such a construction as Chaitya vihara. Got it, everyone? Now this is the picture of the huge mountain of Junnar, which is called as Ganesh Leni nowadays. This is the entire Junnar caves. Okay, and this particular picture indicates the entry. As I told you that we always have a straighter entry into the viharas. Got it, everyone? So this is basically a vihara cave where we have the pillars, we have the balconies, and we have the rooms like. And when we talk about some other important cave temples apart from Junnar, guys, remember that Junnar is the largest cave excavated in India for the purpose of temple construction. Junnar has like more than 200 caves in the entire mountain. We have more than 200 caves. And Kanheri, which is again located in Mumbai, nearby Sanjay Gandhi National Park. So basically, the Kanheri is having more than 108 excavated caves that is there. Apart from Junnar and Kanheri, we have various other places where the Chathyas and viharas both are found. You can remember the names like Ajanta, Ellora, right? Pitalkhora caves, Bhaja caves, Karle caves, and several other places are also there. Got it, everyone? When we talk about the changes which started to occur in the upcoming period, right, in the subsequent time periods, then as the Mahayana sect, it became more prominent, it became more popular, then we started seeing the images also, right, images also inside the caves, on the walls of the caves. For example, in Ajanta as well as in Ellora, we have the mural paintings which were made on the walls of the cave temples. Okay, everyone? Not only that, not only in the western Ghats, we also saw the presence of cave temples as well as the mural paintings in the Nilgiris, in the eastern Ghats as well. Okay, so this became a subsequent change which was witnessed after some centuries in the cave temple architecture. And one more change was there, that in various cave temples which were related to the Buddhism, the Hindu deities or the Brahmanical deities were installed. Like some of the temples, they actually saw the excavation of Brahmanical deities on the surface of the wall, okay, on the surface of the cave temple. So that is how slowly the caves started changing their identities. Here on my left side, you have the glaring example of the sculpture of Lord Ganesha. Okay, Lord Ganesha's sculpture that was excavated on the rock, basically on the cave temple much later. Originally it was not there, because when we try to trace the color and carbonification of the matters present inside the granules of this rock, then we find that this particular statue or this particular sculpture is excavated later on. Okay, now talking particularly about Karle Chatya. Guys, if you don't know, then please remember that Karle Chatya is considered to be the largest and the best example of the Chatyas. It was believed to be constructed around 2nd century CE, and it has basically the open courtyard with 2 pillars and a stone wall as well, so that when somebody is sitting in the balcony, they don't get showered under the rain. It also has a huge veranda as well as a stone screen facade. Right? Stone screen facade is, what is that? Stone screen facade is basically, suppose when you enter the house through a veranda, you see the flat walls. On the flat walls, you have the entire carvings and pictures, excavations. So that is basically called as the facade. Okay, that is called as the facade. Then upsidal vault roof Chatya hall is also there, and the stupa is also there. So we have the Chatya as well as the veranda, that means viharas, both in the Karle. But Karle is more famous as Chatya. Why so? Because the Chatya hall of the Karle is extremely significant due to its exquisite carvings and due to its extensively decorated halls as well as pillars. Alright, everyone. So here you can see the great Chatya of Karle. Look at the design of the stupa, look at the design and the magnificence, right, and the magnificent structure of the pillars on the bottom and the top. The pillars are having the embellishments, as well as the vaulted roof is extremely high as compared to the other Chatyas. So therefore we can say that this is probably the most highlighted and the benchmark architecture in the cave temple of Buddhism known as Chatya. Okay. On my other side, you have the Kanheri's unfinished Chatya. Here you can see that still the entry which is having the flat roof, it is created, it is constructed, but the rest of the part which was supposed to be a Chaitya, this is not constructed. Okay. So guys, I hope that you got a clear idea, and in case, let me tell you that tomorrow we will be talking about the monolithic temples, in which we will study about the Kailasha, Ellora's Kailasha temple. We will study about Badami cave temple related to the Vaishnavism, Jainism and Shaivism. And in the subsequent lecture, we will be studying about the structural temples. So, I hope that everybody understood and saw and found a lot of new learnings in this lecture. So, if you found new learnings, then do not forget to share this video with your friends. And in case if you want to join any significant program which is essential for clearing this examination in 2024, then guys, our P2I program is exclusively for you. You can join these batches, you can join in any of your choice in English, Hinglish or Hindi. And if you are using my code ASR Live, then you are going to get the courses at the best possible price. So do not delay it. Remember that it is the morning batch in September. So you have to be very much alert and active, because it's going to be full very quickly, right? So thank you so much for watching it, guys. And for the content related and other queries, you can join my Telegram group here. And this is my Telegram group. You can simply click on this particular link, as well as you can scan this particular picture. So thanks a lot for watching it, guys. Take care. Bye-bye and have a great day. Jai Hind.